guys, and Happy New Year. I am so happy to be back, and I'm feeling so inspired to film this video. I wasn't even gonna film this video right now, but basically I posted a Q&A on January 1st. I think you'll be seeing this video on the 2nd or the 3rd. And basically it was a Q&A, and I end up kind of, whenever I do a Q&A, I like to actually dive deep into the questions because I feel like most questions have kind of a complex answer. It's like, it's simple in theory but complex to explain. Like most situations have a very, I won't say clear answer, but a semi-clear answer for someone who's maybe more intuitive or attuned, but kind of a complex explanation to explain how you arrive at that answer. And for me, the process of arriving at that answer and explaining that to you guys from, you know, in my way, in my verbiage, in a way that I think hopefully is, you know, as clear and concise and more understandable and comprehensive, is like what I love to do. Like when I made that video answering a lot of relationship type questions, and it really resonated with you guys, I was so happy because some of those concepts that I discuss, you know, like I said, my answers come from a lot of research. I read a ton of articles, I read a ton of books, I listen to a ton of books, I'm listening to a ton of different seminars and things, obviously my own personal experience. I've coached tons of clients, so client experience. So I feel genuinely I can come from a very, quite developed perspective, and that's not just me seeing a question and answering off like some BS. To be honest, it's me like really giving I feel like thorough and guided response when I do Q&As. So I'm really happy that that resonated, and I realize that oftentimes I have topics that I want to talk about, and the Q&As kind of help guide me to those topics. So I've noticed that, let's say I'll start a Q&A, and like I said, in that Q&A I start talking about health a lot and about relationships. And so it's interesting because naturally those are kind of the things that I'm actually very fascinated with. Obviously health, fitness, nutrition is like my world, because how you feel is literally how you live your life. Like how you feel, like from the nutrition and your health and well-being, is literally how you view your life. Like people who are, and this is just a fact, I'm not saying it's an offensive way, everyone starts somewhere eating like processed food and drinking a lot and things like that, are not living life at the quality of someone who's eating very clean and nutrient dense food and is hydrated and isn't drinking alcohol, for example. And that is a simple fact. Like the way that your body operates and the frequency that's vibrating at, which can be actually measured. I always like cite Joe Dispenza, but he has a lot of research if you want to like look into where they measure frequency and things like that. And there's a lot of data. They look at brainwave scans in addition to that. And then relationships, right? I don't mean like just romantic relationships at all. Our whole, you know, world is relationships. Our relationships with our family, our relationships with, if you have siblings, our co-workers, with everyone who interact with, romantic friends, you know, our whole world, because we are in a sense interconnected, is relationships. And every relationship is a chance to learn and grow, to see what's reflected back at you, to see yourself in a different light, and to see areas of growth and such in ways that you probably wouldn't have even if you were just self-reflecting. You know, that's a whole different thing. Today I kind of wanted to, I knew I could have done a Q&A and then come to this topic that I'm about to talk about, but I just already kind of knew I wanted to talk about this topic because I just find it to be like the relationship. If you haven't watched that video, the relationship video I made, I highly suggest you watch it. I really break down the stem of most relationship issues. Of course, there are so many things, but that main system that I discussed in that video is what leads to mostly other issues. Like that is the root. That video explains how what cycles create the root of what later becomes a branch of issues, right? So in today's video, I wanted to talk about, again, kind of another root. I feel like instead of answering kind of like this is the root and then problem stem from answering a question about like a mini problem, I'm going to start addressing the roots of things in videos, right? Instead of like, oh, this is my relationship, this is what's going on, and give a very light generalized answer, I'm going to go down to the core of the system and the cycle, the system that creates the cycle, which then is dispersed into an array of problems, whether that's, you know, friendship, career, whatever it is. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about another root, and this is how basically toxic cycles are formed, and it can be in any sense. Like cycles in life, as we evolve, we have, you know, a cycle of life, a season of life, and we evolve, and there are cycles that teach us, and there are cycles that serve us, and there's cycles that we get into that don't serve us. Like there are healthy cycles, like, oh, one point in my life I had the cycle of when I was cooking at this time or working at this time, for example, at this time, you know what I mean? There are healthy cycles, and then there are cycles that we get involved in that are extremely unhealthy. People call them toxic cycles. Now I do want to first start off by saying that I feel like the word toxic is very easily thrown around. Me as Barky, because she loves non-stop attention, and if I'm filming or if I'm even on my computer working, she'll bark like this. It's in the crib, ma, drop it like it's hot, drop it like it's hot. When they get attitude, drop it like it's hot, drop it like it's, like I was saying, people throw around the word toxic a lot, but obviously I also want to come and explain that at the end of the day, everything is viewed through our lens, right? Our perception. So people could be, like I said before, in the exact same situation, but based on their level of consciousness, which then creates our perception, the situation is viewed completely differently. Like the exact same situation, like I said, could be viewed as, from someone's perspective, like an enlightening experience. They understand the lessons, and to someone it could have just been like, whatever kind of thing, you know, even though maybe the person was supposed to learn the lessons, but due to lack of, you know, self-reflection or whatever it is, they didn't learn them. I don't know. Anyway, so that's just like a side note. So basically, let's get into it. How are toxic cycles created? So usually when we enter some sort of cycle of doing something that does not serve us, it comes from a feeling of not being good enough at the end of the day, whether you're feeling just irritated, upset, lonely, whatever it may be. We can bring that to the core of not feeling good enough in some sense, and then we enter a cycle. Again, I mean, for me, the easiest cycle is to use is relationships, because I feel like it's something that most people, you know, have experienced interpersonal relationships, whether it's friendships or romantic relationships. I also do like to use like food and nutrition as this example, but I just feel like that's it's like I can use it as an example, but it's not, won't have as much weight or pull as much emotions for people to understand. So I'm just gonna use, I'll use a food example maybe like in another video sometime, but I'll use like a relationship example in this because it's just the easiest, it's the most relatable, and it'll paint the picture in the, you know, in a way that more and more people can relate to. So like I said, it starts from not feeling good enough. So let's say in a relationship, maybe you're just feeling lonely. Maybe you're just seeing people post online that they have relationships. Maybe, you know, like also childhood has a really big thing to do with it. Maybe you don't feel as supported with your parents, your immediate family. Maybe you feel not understood by your friends. Whatever it may be, we're gonna go back to feeling not good enough. Issues like you're like, okay, I don't feel good enough. So then you start getting involved in basically, I'm gonna say self-sabotaging behavior, but behavior that doesn't serve you. In our world, we are taught basically on purpose to not serve ourselves because that takes away our power. We're taught to constantly care what every other person thinks about us, to please everyone else around us, to make sure that everything is good, like externally around us in a sense, but not, that wasn't the best, that wasn't like how the last, it didn't come out correctly, but basically like to, like everything around us has to like be okay before we feel okay, when really how it should become, how, you know, how things do work is from when you feel grounded and you feel centered and you protect your peace. I love that expression, but you really create an inner world and a safe space for you inside. And it's not like butterflies and rainbows when it comes to like, you know, really developing a foundation of self. It's a lot of facing inside. Where are your insecurities? Why do you act the way you do? Why do you come into the patterns that you do? Where is the feeling of not good enough coming from in any of your life? Where is, you know what I mean, the whole concept of imposter syndrome, things like that. It's not like it's just like a light thing. Often life will bring you many lessons to reflect back at you those things, and it is uncomfortable. And I can tell you firsthand, it's very uncomfortable when you realize you're like, whoa, like I didn't even think that I was like that, or whoa, I didn't even think that this kind of feeling or emotion was somewhere in me, or etc. But basically you're not serving yourself. So like a life of serving yourself would look like, you know, prioritizing your health, so making sure like I said before, if you're out with friends or doing an activity, you say no when you don't want to go. First of all, you say no when it doesn't serve you to go. Maybe you know that you haven't been getting enough rest, and it's really crucial for you this night to feel your best, to get enough sleep. So maybe you have to say no to something that maybe you, like an event or something you were gonna do. Maybe you have to say no to seeing a friend you were gonna see or something like that. Making sure that you're making the time for some sort of movement, moving your body, whether it's just going for a walk, whether that's yoga, whether it's a workout, whatever that looks like to you. Basically, what I'm stemming from is when you're not serving yourself. So it starts very small. Everything is, nothing kind of like, that's why being mindful, self-reflective, conscious, and evolving in terms of your consciousness really allows you to see lessons more clearly. It opens, like people say, it's a spiritual awakening. It opens your eyes. You can see clearly. You understand the inner workings. You understand why this event happened, why this person acted like that, why you felt like that. You begin, everything begins, it's like this web that you weren't able to see before, and now you're able to see the web of everything and how it's interconnected, and why this happened, and what that brought out in you, and why did you react this way, and how one decision one day later like trickled to this. And that requires awareness. That requires self, you know, work, inner work. Like that's not most people. I'm not saying that in a condescending, but most people are not that aware. You know, you live day to day, moment to moment, thinking that things are just kind of occurring and that they're not in control in your life. When you begin to take back the power and understand that you genuinely do have the reins of the control, at first it's scary because you begin to realize at times all the chaos that you've created, and then you begin to realize that although that was maybe created, now you have the opportunity to create inner peace in, you know, within. Like I said, everything begins super small. Otherwise, it would be very obvious to us why certain things aren't working out, why certain things aren't happening. It's oftentimes smaller, you know, baby steps that lead to later things, and that's in a sense a positive and a negative. The reason being is so that, you know, things don't immediately slap you in the face. It gives you kind of like a buffer. Like, you make a bad decision, maybe you'll learn from it quickly, and then if you don't, then we bring the lesson comes back a little bit harder, and I'll talk about that in cycles, and it speeds up, it comes back a little harder, and it's going to intensify and speed up each time. Like, you don't pass it, but that's why there's like a buffer. If you were to do something and you immediately get a really negative consequence, I mean, that would just be too harsh, and we do have free will. So that's why there's kind of like that buffer period where you have free will, you get to make decisions, and you get to kind of choose how quickly you learn, in a sense, and how quickly you evolve. And if you do, and it's difficult as it can be, as I will discuss breaking cycles, if you do continue to evolve as lessons are brought to your attention, you will move through life almost, I don't say quicker, but like, it's like something that could have taken 3 years takes you a few months. You're going to events and locations you don't serve. It's small steps, right? And when you begin to compile, when you are in that place of not self-serving, you get involved in an activity usually doesn't serve you. So whether you start hanging out with friends or attract people, a partner, something like that, situation, oftentimes doesn't even get to maybe a partner or situation. That's like oftentimes the cases that I think become common. That doesn't serve you, or which that situation can even lead to a lifestyle, because your choices create your life and that becomes your lifestyle. You basically cultivate a cycle of a new lifestyle that does not serve you. So in a relationship, right, you're feeling desperate. This is the easiest way. You don't even, if you don't consciously realize it, even if you're not like sitting like pining, if it's in your subconscious even, you're going to attract somebody who also does not serve you. And then how the cycle will begin is that it's almost like it's like a void, right? Like, I mean, I wish I could give you a better example, but like, this is like, I mean, ideally this would be the actual powder, but we don't have her. So like, this is like the void, right? You're feeling, and it comes in waves, right? So some days maybe you're feeling super busy, you feel fine, and then comes a time where your subconscious can flow, and the feelings of not feeling good enough come. So then you made this, let's say you already found a person who, you attracted a person, or you found a person who fills the void. So then what happens, it becomes a toxic cycle. So every time you're not feeling good, you require that to kind of numb it temporarily, put a band-aid on it, and then okay, you feel a bit fulfilled, and then you wait, and then you go back to the cycle, and then you wait, and go back to the cycle. And what starts happening is after a little bit, you know, lessons get stronger and stronger. So you're making the decision. Oh, that's a weird gesture. You're making that decision time. You're making that decision time after time. And each time it's going to feel a little bit more uncomfortable. In the beginning, it's because you're beginning to learn the lesson. The cycle hasn't sped up enough, so the discomfort is not that high. You're making a decision, and you may be like, this is, I know I'm not doing, I know maybe this isn't the path for me. Is this really like the person I should be spending time with? And each time you're going to be feeling that void, the discomfort's going to be getting stronger. But on top of that, the almost, I don't say trauma bond, but I don't want to throw that word around, but it's basically like a trauma bond. Like you create an attachment to the cycle. It basically, your mind and your neurologically, it creates a pathway that's like, okay, if I'm feeling sad, I go to this situation that makes me feel better temporarily, but then doesn't make me feel better in the long run. It's very easy to compare to drugs. So you're feeling a withdrawal, then you have the drug to temporarily you feel better, right? But then the next day, you're not feeling good, you're feeling shitty in the same way. So you'll you're feeling fine, you're feeling sad, you go to, like I said, I'm using a romantic example, you go to the person, you feel temporarily better, even though you know you are going to have those feelings of discomfort. The stronger your intuition is, the more in touch you are with yourself, the stronger and louder that voice will be. Lots of you who are watching this kind of content are, I'm assuming, if it's resonating with you, you are more conscious and self-aware, so you are going to feel that discomfort internally. The discomfort of the situation that you know doesn't serve you is lesser than the immediate need for your void filled, so you continue in that situation. And this is where the cycle gets harder to break, because as I said, the longer you continue to do it, the louder the voice it gets. But the louder the voice gets, the stronger the attachment is there. And so really what happens is that's why people get stuck in toxic cycles, whether I say this is just with their general lifestyle, with food, especially with relationships and friendships, because it's the immediate void needs to be filled, and the feeling of withdrawal. It's almost like a drug. I'm sure if I've ever been in a situation similar, like if you can relate to this at all, it could be with a friend, career, relationship. It's like that feeling of like, oh my gosh, like I need this. It's almost like sparks cortisol in the body. I'm sure like it's like this fight or flight almost response, not fully, but like it's a stress where like I need, like you almost, yeah, like you feel like you need X, Y, and Z. And it can be on different levels. Like it's like if it's with like food, it can be on a little bit of like a less intense scale. Usually when it comes to attachment to people, there's more emotion involved than a direct correlation with like a standard variable like food. It's just like the food's not gonna leave you. Food's not gonna do, you know what I mean? So there's a little bit less. It's a little bit less less of a charge. It's a little bit of a less charged situation. And so in order to break the cycle, you literally have to consciously, first of all, what often happens is the lessons get louder. So it becomes more and more clear the situation isn't from you, and that gets taught to people in different ways. Whether you are starting to feel more and more miserable when you're in that situation, signs are coming to you to show you that this situation isn't clear for you. Your friends are telling you. It basically become clear in the way that's more the easiest to see for you. I think for me, it's oftentimes energetically. I can just see how I feel. I can see because how you feel is really your perception of life, and then in turn kind of what kind of energy you bring around you. I immediately start, if I know that situation isn't for me, I immediately feel up, and and oftentimes if I were to get deep enough, I would see changes to get your attention. And then so the moment that you have that realization, I suggest, that's why I say whenever you feel that something is that initial whisper, I know it's so tempting, because the feeling of discomfort, or the void of not feeling good enough in whatever area of life is so uncomfortable that we will take something that we know is not up to our standards, something that we know can sacrifice our dignity, just to avoid that feeling. But regardless, that you're going to come back to that feeling, and you're going to come back to that feeling with a lot more pain than if you were just to initially face that feeling that you didn't want, that you're running away from. And I know that's hard to hear, because we've all been in the situations where it's so discomfortable, so we go in this loop of avoiding it, but through avoiding it you really create more pain, because all that pain is doing is just trying to reroute you back to healing the root cause. Because when the root cause is healed, there will be no cycles of pain anymore in that exact, that scenario, so to say, if it actually is fully healed. You're noticing a cycle because you start seeing that it repeats. You start seeing like, oh, like I feel like this, and then this happens, and I feel like this after, and then you be like, oh, I feel like this, and then I go to this, and then I feel like this after. As soon as you're starting to see that it's going like this, you realize that you are in the hamster wheel, you're in the cycle, and each time you go back into the cycle, it speeds up and it speeds up. And when you're finally gonna decide to break it, oftentimes it's a deep realization. It's something happens where you feel like, I'm done, like this is enough. And that's different for certain people. Some people don't need that hard of a push to make that decision. Those who are more aware, maybe have more, strength or discipline or whatever it is. Every person's different. Some people, it may need to repeat for a long time and then have kind of a bigger slap in the face, so to say, to realize that. Then comes reprogramming the mind, right? Then comes the realization, you're in shock, you realize, I'm in the cycle, I no longer want to be in it. So what you do is you tell yourself, I'm done with this, right? That's often how it starts, whatever it is. I'm done eating like this, I'm done being with this, I'm done tolerating this, I'm done being in this kind of situation, I'm done being treated like this, I'm done like taking less than I deserve, right? And so then for like a day or so, like you can it's all forever, and you can feel super empowered, but the cycle is going to test you. It's going to bring you back to the point where you need to heal. It's going to bring back the root cause that caused you to run away, what was that you ran away from in the beginning, and went to whatever it was to avoid that void. So now that you're like, I'm breaking the cycle, crack the cycle, you're going to get brought back to that, and then you're going to work on healing that. And each time you're going to come to the feeling of whatever not being not good enough, what area is going to come up, you're going to be tempted. You're going to want to go back to that, because you're in the situation, your neurological pathways are programmed to react and actually activate the same emotions that would trigger you to go into XYZ situation, person, activity, behavior, whatever it may be. And so then that's when you're going to have to, each time you get there, consciously reaffirm to yourself that, you know, you deserve better, you deserve more, you deserve a better life, you deserve to live a better life than whatever cycle that was. And you need to affirm yourself, and every time that emotion comes up, you work through it, and then it becomes a little bit less painful, and you work through it, and with time it'll melt away. As much as you work through it and genuinely sit through it, release it, meditate on it. I mean, there's different ways of working through it, and that's a whole video in itself. So like I was saying, each time that comes up, we're gonna you know, work through it, affirm. If you find basically you can make a list. This is what a lot of people do. It makes it easier of how whatever that behavior, activity, or such scenario, cycle was, why it doesn't serve you. Write a list. Sometimes our mind cannot be in cognitive dissonance. So obviously, if it was justifying a behavior that didn't serve us, it had some reasons it justified it. And so when the pain comes up and you're going to want to go to that, your mind's going to bring up that little positive list of justification. So instead, on hand, you have a list of why that cycle does not serve you, and even better, a list of what is possible if you break the cycle, a new positive cycle you start, a cycle of self-serving yourself, a cycle of putting yourself first and being health conscious and being around people who truly love and support you and value you, and really living the life where you feel in control and empowered and worthy, and you know, all of the things, whatever it may be. And before you know it, you will be shifting literally into another lifestyle, right? So with all the choices you make, that's what curates your life. So if you begin to create major shifts in the cycles that you're in, it correlates to other areas of your life. When you begin to expect or deserve more in one area of your life, you begin to shift your approach in other areas, and in that sense it kind of levels up your life, and then you really will begin to transform and shift, and in a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, 2 months, 6 months, a year of life, and you'll look back and be like, wow, in those moments that I broke that cycle and I was conscious about it, that because I stopped the momentum of that, I created a completely new positive momentum that did serve me, and in turn created a life that served and loved me back. And that's what I want all you guys to get to. That's what I want everyone. I mean, everyone deserves to be happy, everyone deserves to be loved, and everyone deserves to be successful in whatever that means to them. Truly, like, that is, you know, that is kind of, and you know, everyone has their own life, and the way they learn lessons, the way they integrate things, it's all so different and vast for everyone. But at the end of the day, that is like a common kind of conclusion that we can come to. And yeah, I hope this video was helpful in explaining how cycles, again, I can only explain so much, right, in 20 or so minutes. I can't sit here and be citing articles in every sentence I say, or be quoting exact data research when I'm just trying to create a video that's, you know, timely for you guys, but still brings everything to the point. Again, if you were fascinated in anything of this, you can always do your own research. The web has so much out there for you. Enjoyed this video today. Like I said, I was drinking a lemon LaCroix. Whenever I want a treat, I have one of these. If you don't know, I'm pretty much eating no sugar, or very low sugar, unless it's the sugar that's in like fruits, vegetables, things like that. And so I try just not to have outside basically processed sugar as much as possible. And so whenever I have a LaCroix, I'm like, I love a treat. Also, I've worn this jumper in a different video. I just love this jumper. It's from Princess Polly. I do still have a 20% off code. This video is not sponsored at all, but if you liked this jumper, I'll put it in the description for you guys. Also, shout out to Urban Decay for the powder box. I could use an example, and the Charlotte Tilbury lipstick. This is Pillow Talk, by the way. I love you guys. I hope your 2020 is off to a great start. I really hope you commit to yourself in some way, whatever that looks like to you, whatever that priority is to you. I just really hope that you commit to yourself and commit to change, because it is possible, and it all starts with that first decision. And I love you guys. I will be back. If you have any other topics you want me to discuss that came to mind, I would love to hear your brainstorming. Truly, feel free to leave a comment here or on my Instagram, message me, chat. I'm a Gemini, I love to talk. So I'll catch you here, I'll catch you on Instagram, I'll catch you on my podcast. All info is in the description. Make sure you check that out for everything that you probably have a question about. It's probably down there. If it's not, message me. I love you. If you liked my energy and you resonate with it, subscribe, and I'll be back soon. Bye.